Well, it's a great day for Middletown, a great day for the Van Zandt family. We get to honor not one, but two legendary Van Zandts. Our day started at 9:30 a.m. this morning. I think it's safe to say that this is the first time Stevie and Billy have been up at 9:30 in the morning on Wilson Avenue. In fact, I think it's safe to say if this was 1969, they'd still be sleeping as our ceremony is unfolding. In all seriousness, I've met a lot of New Jersey Hall of Famers over the past 15 years. Stevie, you are, without question, one of the most impressive I've ever met. Immensely talented, music, acting, radio, charitable activist, author, God knows what else. You are balanced, a trait that I admire in you and others. Principled, you led the charge. Back to that page. You led the charge to end apartheid when no one else volunteered for that one. Principled, spending as much time as you do trying to help children through your music curriculum program. In my book, you are the epitome of cool. You and Keith Richards, same league, baby. But I am jealous. He gets to dress in John Varvatos or whatever the hell he dresses in, and I have to dress in business suits. And since my dry cleaners keeps losing my business suits, that pretty much sucks. Just to set the record straight, Stevie, in 1976, I was the lead singer in a rock band called Satellite as your career was taking off. And I, too, used to wear bandanas. That was my trademark. You may have stolen it from me, for all I know. And one night after a concert in front of a capacity crowd of 15 people in Parsippany, New Jersey, our roadies were so bad, by the way, we knocked the power off at this fair. There were people screaming on the Ferris wheel. It was quite the head trip at the moment. But once carnival officials got the power back on at the end of the concert, two of my adoring fans asked me for my bandana. That's a true story. And sadly, that's never happened again. Billy, you two get to dress in Varvatos, which pisses me off, but you're also quite the accomplished man. You've done it all in film, theater, and television. Mayor, I don't know what's in the water, but I'll have what they're drinking. Terrific stuff. At this time, I'd like to introduce a vice chairman of the New Jersey Hall of Fame. This is someone who's a dear friend for many, many years. He's been a MVP, a Heisman Trophy winner for the Hall of Fame, helping us with our funding and helping us put this together today. He just recently got appointed to the Rutgers Board of Trustees at a very interesting time on college campuses in America. But please welcome Gary Taffet.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Steve. Thank you all. Obviously, very humbled to be here today with New Jersey royalty. And unfortunately, Steve Edwards, I'm actually not talking about you, notwithstanding your bandana story. So what an honor to be here today for such a noteworthy dedication for the Van Zandt family, to Stevie and Billy, for lives so well lived, for giving back, and for an honor so deserving. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. Let me just give some very quick background on this mayor, how this event came to be. This was an idea that was born out of discussion of the Hall of Fame Executive Committee leadership following a recent dedication of Frankie Valli in Newark. And I appreciate that our Hall of Fame president, Steve Edwards, has been so engaged in raising the visibility of New Jersey's best and brightest. And to have folks like this here today, to have Brian Williams, the Van Zandts, so many others that have been leaders and dignitaries and the best and brightest in New Jersey is just such an honor. And Steve, I think the entire state is indebted to you for raising the New Jersey Hall of Fame stature to where it is today. Let's hear it for Steve Edwards. So we're doing our last induction ceremony, and the two Steves spoke, and this time I do mean Steve and Stevie, Stevie and Steve. And as we approached that ceremony, Steve Edwards asked my opinion. He said, what do you think about a street dedication in Middletown for someone so incredibly deserving? Do you think that the mayor would be interested in carrying that, in honoring the Van Zandt family? And I have to tell you that I've been dealing with elected officials for decades, and I haven't seen anyone run to the phone or answer the call as quickly as we saw Tony Perry answer that call. And thank you. I should not have brought my own sound. Was it a mistake for me to bring my own sound machine? So, Mayor, we are here today because of you. And by the way, I won't argue with the fact that you got us the best weather ever for a dedication ceremony. So Mayor Tony Perry, he's led with the location, the design, the entirety of this ceremony that we're engaging in today. He is a leader. He is strong. He is humble. Well done, Mayor. He is instantly part of New Jersey legend going forward, and maybe his own future Hall of Famer someday. That said, let me just say this about the mayor, and he has some great traits that he shares with the Van Zandts that are being honored here today. He's young, he's dynamic, he's currently a leader, he's smart beyond his years, he has an incredibly bright future, both now and ahead of him. He's opinionated, he's entrepreneurial. And so join me in welcoming to the podium a great leader with boundless energy and enthusiasm, the great leader of this community, the mayor of Middletown. Let's hear it for Tony Perry.
Wow. I am taking Gary Taffet everywhere I travel in Middletown. But first of all, I want to just start by saying thank you. Thank you to everybody here, and thank you to the Hall of Fame for bringing together such a wonderful group of people and the Middletown community all back there. I love you all. Thank you. You know, we're fortunate to live in such a great town, and a town that has done so much over our 360-year history that we are celebrating this year. Middletown turns 360 years old. So when you think about that, Middletown's place in the community, what Middletown has done longer than the United States has been a country, before it was an idea, we have been honoring individuals that do good for our community. Right here in Middletown, you drive down certain streets and you see them named after individuals from the Revolutionary War all the way up until our wars on terror that have lost their lives but have fought for our freedoms. And those individuals should get a big round of applause for serving our nation and having streets named after them. I also want to thank the team that was able to put this together. Obviously, this does not come easy. There is a lot of planning that goes into this. But I want to thank Steve Edwards and Gary Taffet from the Hall of Fame, unbelievable leaders. I know former Senator Joe Carrillos is here as well, who sponsored the original legislation to create the New Jersey Hall of Fame. So I want to thank those three individuals for their leadership, establishing the Hall of Fame and leading it into what it is today and soon to be a great facility up at American Dream. So congratulations. I also want to thank the team for Middletown. Our Middletown Police Department certainly deserve a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Our Public Works, led by Ted Maloney, our Township Administrator, Tony Mercantante, our Recreation Director, Janet Dellett, every single person that is here that has made this possible, thank you for your efforts today. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So back in 2019, the Township Administrator, Tony Mercantante, who's right over here, said to me, you know, we've done, so much, and rightfully so, for our veterans. We've named, I think, almost 70 streets after veterans throughout Middletown, which is amazing, that have lost their lives, but serving our nation. But we should also give credit to people that have been able to have an impact on our town and have an impact culturally and I think that we should start off with Billy Van Zandt. And I said, okay, well, are we including Stevie in that too? And they said, well, maybe, you know. But no, seriously, to be here on Wilson Avenue and to have passed by the house that you grew up in, which, by the way, it was very interesting to have the team reach out to the people that own that house now, and just let them know, hey, by the way, you might have about 3 dozen news trucks outside your house. Don't worry about it. It's okay. But seriously, Middletown is a great town built on a great history. And to honor individuals that make that impact, that have that, whether it is in the military, whether to have that as individuals that are working in Hollywood as authors, as singers, as actors, we got that all today. And we're here to honor great individuals and to honor a Hall of Famer among us. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to stand up here and share this stage, because not many people get to say that they shared a stage with the Van Zandts, right? Well, just lie to me and tell me that that's the truth, all right? But again, so on behalf of Middletown, on behalf of our township committee that's here today, on behalf of all the elected officials, on behalf of our residents that have joined us here today, I want to welcome you back to Wilson Avenue, but more importantly, what will soon be dedicated and ceremoniously named as Van Zandt Way. Congratulations. And had I not thought that I was ever going to be able to do that, now I get the unbelievable honor of introducing the voice, a guy I grew up watching on TV. I'm not making you feel old, but a Middletown guy, a volunteer firefighter who literally came from a fire in Bayhead and came right here. So it's my honor to introduce Middletown's own Brian Williams. Thank you.
I always love that when someone says, yeah, I was at preschool when you were on TV. Yeah, a little bit, you did, a little bit. Mr. Mayor, honored guests, members of the Van Zandt family, my fellow Middletown residents. I am here today to celebrate a great family that came out of a great town. And this is a great town, and it is good to be home. In terms of exits, I have noticed I seem to be moving south in a dangerous trend that will put me in assisted living in Atlantic City in about 10 years. I was born at 165. I was raised at 114. I love 117 people are lovely, and Hazlitt this time of year, Matawan, oh my God, it's beautiful. Well, I was raised at 114, now at 98. So is that siren going to go off again because we lost? So I'm worried about my southern progression. But boy, it's good to have come off 114, drove past my old firehouse, I drove past my old house. This is the only thing that makes me truly sad. The field where I played at least 9 minutes of football over 2 years for I think we own the title. Danny Harper's here from my graduating class. Norma Delapine's here from Mater Dei. We were 0-9, correct? Yeah. So, blessing, curse, but I went to what used to be this high school. Worked at, I don't like to brag, but I worked at Sears and Perkins. Wow. They would be so honored to get a round of applause. There was no North and South. There was just Middletown High School. I went to Village School, Thompson, and when the time came to commit to high school, my mother said, You're not going to that Middletown high school. It's a drug den. It's a drug den over there. We were St. Mary's parishioners. She wanted me to come here. Asterisk, my dad was going through what let's call an employment issue at the time. Oh, come on. See, if you live life long enough, you get the mayor to pick up pages of your speech. My dad was going through this thing, and my mom then broke it to me. You're not only going to Middletown, you're going to pay your tuition. Enter Perkins and Sears. So I was one of those kids. To complete loserdom, I also joined the fire department at Old Village Station 11 over on 35. So my entire life, thank you, my entire life, all the consequential moments in my life happened in a 1.5 mile radius from this street and that building. We regarded this, of course, as the Park Avenue of New Monmouth. This was the fancy neighborhood. Steve and I grew up so close and yet separated only by talent and personal style. Steve got both the talent and personal style. After this, we're going clothes shopping. You're all welcome to come. They must have had better tap water over here than the other side of 35 where I grew up. Yeah, you got Billy, the author, the writer, the playwright, the actor, and then you got Steve, who cannot settle on a single occupation. In no particular order. My friend Steve is a musician, not just a musician. We happen to be in the presence today of one of the very few architects of our own sound, the Jersey Shore Sound. Hazlitt doesn't have a sound, okay? I mean, if we're being honest. The sound is ours alone, as is Stevie. Along with his band, the Disciples of Soul, he's an outstanding solo artist. He has another gig with a guy who grew up in Freehold, I think, escapes me right now, called the E Street Band. And in addition to that work, we're about to lose him to Europe for a couple of months, but they always come back. They'll be back in the fall. In addition to all that, he is a gifted actor and author. His autobiography, not for the kids in the crowd today, okay? Don't be reading Stevie's book until you're much older, all right? His autobiography, Unrequited Infatuations, is fantastic. The title speaks to the romantic that he is. Silvio Dante, not a romantic very much. Steve's portrayal, however, of Tony's consigliere was and is indelible. Then he did it again as Frank in Lillehammer, because this company that used to mail out CDs in red envelopes, Netflix, said, hey, we should try making a show of our own. And the first streaming show ever on Netflix became Lillehammer with this guy. As has been mentioned, in his spare time, he waged a colossal battle against apartheid in South Africa, which turned out to be the right side of history. And in current day, school children across this country who have never met Steve have had their lives changed by Steve because of the music education curriculum he designed called Teach Rock. He is, please. As an arranger and producer, he has too many credits to list here. He's got 2 channels on Sirius XM. 1 channel's usually sufficient for people. Not our Steve. And he got to play 3 now. I'm being corrected. You can't hear half the comments from back here. I'm being a gentleman. I will deal with him later, in my own way and at a time of my choosing. He also got to play Jerry Vale in The Irishman. There is another role he plays that I know particularly well, and that is defender of our democracy. We all must hope he does for democracy what he has done in every other area of our life. Am I allowed to tell one Stevie story? Fair warning, this involves a name drop. I will try to make it quick and painless. So there we are at Bruce's house, late summer, early fall 2020. I was invited there for the last day of recording of Bruce's album, Letter to You. The last note that day happened to be played by Stevie. It was a quick pickup to insert into an earlier track, and then we heard the words, "That's a wrap." It was over. It was emotional. Remember, this was at the height of COVID, so all kinds of protocols were, oh, Mr. Mayor.
This is why I go off the cuff.
You know, most towns, I bet in Hazlitt they have like a mic thing, so it frees up your arms. I'm up here, I'm battling the wind, the elements. I got a heckler behind me with a bandana. Came a long way this morning up the Parkway. So once we heard the words, "That's a wrap," tequila might have been poured, and tequila might have been consumed, and toasts might have been exchanged. At this point, Steve makes his way over to me and says, "You know, not for nothing. I apologize. I get too wound up, and if I were you, I wouldn't return my texts." And I said, "What are you talking about? I haven't had a text for you for about 3 years." Tell me again, what's your number?" And he's scrolling through. He'd been texting the wrong number for 3.5 years. Somebody, perhaps someone we know, perhaps a friend, family member, relative, is out there. Someone out there has the golden phone. Someone out there has the most beautifully curated collection of obscenities. Those 2-3 word combinations that only we New Jerseyans can come up with. Way beyond ouf marron. Somebody has obscenities directed at the major political figures in this country of the last several decades. Somebody's got that phone. I'll finish up with this. Of all the notes played by my friend Steve, of all the songs he has written, there's one that gets me for sentimental reasons, and it involves any of my modern-day classmates who happen to be here today. It has everything to do with growing up here. Every Friday and Saturday night, I would take my big paychecks from Sears and Perkins, cash them, grab my buddies, and go from 35 to 36 over the Highlands Bridge, first stop, Trade Winds. These are my people. We would most of the time go to see a band called Fresh. Sometimes a young man, forgot what happened to him, Timmy McClune would come in and play piano at the end of the night. And Tim owns probably this street where we're standing at this point. And that would lead to beverages, and that would lead to, we'd always check to see if Clarence's car was in the parking spot. You were one of them, okay. Clarence had a condo at Trade Winds and would often, it was like CSI. He would lead us to Bruce if we followed but kept a few cars in between. We would end up at the Pony where, even though we were children, there was a bouncer at the Pony who was a volunteer firefighter, so that was really cool. And often, depending on who was playing at the Pony, we would end up at Jimmy Burns' Seagirt Inn, and nothing good ever happened at Jimmy. Don't lie to me. At Jimmy Burns' Seagirt Inn. But some nights at the Pony, you'd go in, and the Jukes would be playing, and you were in heaven. And invariably, at the end of the night, they ended with, "I don't want to go home." It is my favorite song of Stevie Van Zandt's. And it was written for the end of the night. It was written to sway back and forth with your girl as the lights came up a little bit at last call, or if you're me, sway back and forth with 4 volunteer firefighters. And of course it spoke to us. You're in heaven. You have the great good fortune of growing up at the Jersey Shore. You're at the Stone Pony. Nobody wants to go home. I didn't want to go home. Except for today, to honor this great family, these 2 men, this great legacy, at this great place. Today, I couldn't wait to go home. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Steve Van Zandt. After some conferencing back here, apparently, due respect, Stevie wants Billy to go first, so.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. I miss you at 11 o'clock every night. This is overwhelming and surreal, and I love it. I want to thank the mayor and his office and the New Jersey Hall of Fame. And in particular, I want to thank Tony Mercantante and Jim Van Nest, who sat in front of me in homeroom in high school. Van Nest, Van Zandt for 4 years. And where are you, Jim? I can only recognize you from the back of your head. There he is. And Kevin Langen, a world-famous opera singer who grew up the street right here. And my understanding is he started the germ of this whole thing about 5 years ago. And so thank you, Kevin. And from the mayor's office in particular, I want to thank Tara, Janet, and Laura, wherever you are. Okay. I loved growing up here. Our neighbors were our family, and they still are. McGevelys, the Beshes, the Philippes, the O'Briens are still down there. And I'm still friends with half my kindergarten class, half of which are still here, I think. I know Greg James is here somewhere. I want to pay tribute to 6 people. I loved growing up here to the point where when we had our kids, Adrian and I bought a house back here, so my sons could grow up in New Jersey for half a year, every year, and but I want to thank 6 people, my teachers at Thorne and Middletown High School. In particular, we had the best drama, theater, arts department in the state. I truly believe that, and they really prepared me well for the path I wanted to go down. So I want to thank Lois Martineau, Lane Sutton, Lucille Brothers, Sandy Snyder, Diane Cranert, and Rich Ludlam, who is out here somewhere. Thank you, guys. And I want to acknowledge we have a sister, Kathy Van Zandt. 10 plus years, I think, as copy director for Vogue magazine for under Anna Wintour, right? Yeah. I don't know what was in the water at our house, but we all drank it. And I wish our parents were here for this. My father, I love the fact that it's Van Zandt Way, so his name is up there. World War II vet and loved living here. He's the one who brought the Van Zandts down from Bergen County to Middletown. And he would love this. And my mother would be floating on air. Well, for all I know, she is floating on air, but hi, Ma. Um, and finally, I want to thank my big brother. Well, about here. He made things much easier for me to go into show business. See, my father did not want us to go into the entertainment business. He said everybody in the entertainment business were drunks or bums. And he wasn't completely wrong, by the way. But so Stephen and Dad had a lot of long talks where Kathy and I had to get out of the house, and while he was going into music. So by the time 7 years later, when I decided to go into the theater, he was like, "Go ahead." So thank you all for coming out. This is unbelievable, and I want to hear what Stephen has to say. So I want to turn it over to him. Thank you. You're on.
Well, I think Hazlitt has a teleprompter, don't they, Brian? Oh, Colt's neck? So much, I'm going to try and read the speech from my phone in the sunlight, you know. This is, well, you know what? Let me put my glasses on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold that thought. This will help. This will help. At these prices? So, this is a nice surprise, obviously. As Billy mentioned, I know our parents are here in spirit, but I love to see the looks on their faces because no one would be more surprised than them. It really was touch and go there for a number of years. And I'm not sure I would recommend to someone coming up to take the Van Zandt way of doing things exactly. Our folks were not showbiz people. Nana Lento was probably the closest we came to having an entertainer in the family. Grandpa was a shoemaker from Calabria, so I suppose we could have followed in his footsteps, so to speak. And all of our uncles worked in the construction business. I don't want to hear it, Brian. So, you know, that would have been the logical thing for us to do, and you know, in fact, I did that for a while. Daddy had a trumpet, but I never saw him play it. And Ma, she was an old school housewife and mother, which was considered a very fulfilling, full-time, legitimate job in those days, and still is. She was the oldest of the 5 kids in her family, which made her way too often the substitute mother, and consequently never really got a chance to dream, never mind follow or fulfill that dream. She was probably thankful that she got a second chance to fall in love, which happened to be with a guy from Jersey named William Van Zandt. And lucky for me, he was a guy who was very secure and strong enough to marry a woman with a 7-year-old kid. Not done that often in the 50s. Something else that was not done that often in the 50s was getting divorced, especially if you're Catholic. And Ma was brought up very strict Catholic. So it must have taken a lot for her to get divorced with a kid, looking at a very uncertain future. And she would pretend to change teams because Bill Van Zandt was a Baptist. But she never did eat meat on Friday and would sneakily pray to St. Anthony whenever something got misplaced in the house. So they were both pretty tough. And I think all 3 of us kids, including my sister Kathy, inherited some of that toughness which we were going to need considering the paths that we took. And of the 3 of us, Kathy is by far the toughest because while me and Billy were running around trying to fight our way into the show business, she had to deal with the reality of keeping the family together, which you know, we were running as fast as we could away from anything that resembled responsibility or obligation. So make no mistake about it, this is her honor as much as ours. Maybe more so. Our parents didn't talk much about themselves, which was just part of that greatest generation's stoicism. You know, and one of my biggest regrets is not having more conversations with them. I got two main things from my father. One was a very strong sense of patriotism. He was an ex-Marine Goldwater Republican. Now, let's hear it for Barry. Now, my form of patriotism would go in a slightly different direction, but the common ground was the true meaning of patriotism, which has no party affiliation, no matter how they try and co-opt it, but is simply a love of our country and the ideas it stands for and the ideals we continue to fight for. The other thing I got from him is the only thing I remember him ever saying to me, which is, if you're gonna do something, do it right. Like I said, he was a man of few words. I continue to try and live up to his work ethic, and that combined with my mother's strong sense of compassion and calm under pressure is pretty much who I ended up being. So with all the ups and downs, drama, heartbreak, bad decisions, sometimes the easier logical path not taken, this is a wonderful validation that the three of us must have done something right. And I want to thank Mayor Perry and Tara Benson. I'm going to forget some of the names here. There's so many people involved with this. Kevin Langan, whose idea it was, Rob Dippold and Mike Fordham from Primary Wave. Of course, Steve Edwards and Gary Taffet from the New Jersey Hall of Fame. Eliza Rosenthal, and Norris Clark, and everybody at PSC for helping put this together. My good friend, wise ass, Brian Williams. I never leave home without him. And I close with my only regret. My relationship with law enforcement is quite good these days. I give pretty much the biggest fundraiser for law enforcement in the country every year. And, you know, the relationship wasn't always that good. And, you know, for those of you a little bit older, you may have, you know, recalled an altercation or two, which is why it's a damn shame that Chief Joseph McCarthy didn't live long enough to be here today. We had an interesting relationship. And it would have been just marvelous for him to have to see my name on his mail every day. Thank you very much.
You are world-class, brother. World-class. Stevie Van Zandt, Brian Williams, another New Jersey Hall of Famer, and Billy Van Zandt. I just have one parting message, you know, semi-serious one. The mission of the Hall of Fame is to celebrate New Jersey. It's to honor legends like Billy and Stevie and Brian, and it's to inspire our children to be the future Hall of Famers. And I'm so pleased to tell you that we're fulfilling that mission at the next level. Mid-June, we're going to unveil New Jersey Hall of Fame at American Dream. It's a 10,000 square foot state-of-the-art entertainment and learning center. We've got the Model T that Henry Ford gifted to Thomas Edison in 1916 that's on display. We've got holograms. You can interview inductees like Stevie, ask them questions. How do I reach the pinnacle of the music industry? We even have a karaoke performance stage where you can get up and sing next to a hologram of Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, or Frankie Valli, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. And it is about Jersey pride. We want all of you as New Jerseyans to come and feel good about where we come from As Governor Kane said years ago, when people feel good, they feel anything is possible about the future. But there's an even more important mission to all of this, and that is the heroes and wisdom that we want to provide your children and grandchildren with. I should note this is the first state-of-the-art Hall of Fame in the nation that New Jersey's unveiling. In fact, there's 46 states without halls of fame, very few halls of fame. And I think the mayor mentioned 350 years. I can't believe that. That's 360, excuse me. Our nation is coming up on its 250th birthday in 2026. And they recently, a pollster, I just saw this last week, asked young children about America and about what their thoughts were about democracy. And the results blew him away, demoralizing, bad. What the children said is they didn't have confidence that our democracy was going to even survive. And what they said, what we're doing here at the Hall of Fame and lots of other organizations do it, is that they need heroes and wisdom. And they're not finding those heroes and wisdom and inspiration. So that's what we're going to do at New Jersey Hall of Fame at American Dream. I hope you bring your children there. Like I said, we're unveiling mid-June, and then we're open for good. And you'll do your part to provide heroes and wisdom, and I hope you feel, as I feel, that that's most important. Thank you. And now,